The U.S. relationship with China is just one of the many topics that Peter Kiernan is covering in his new book. It's entitled, A Man Who Is About as Subtle as Myself, Becoming China's Bitch. And 9 more catastrophes we must avoid right now. It is a manifesto, he says, for the Radical Center. And Peter, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Congratulations on this book. First off, why did you write the book? What is the point that you're trying to accomplish?
What I really want to do is shock the American people. I went to the Dylan Ratigan School of Delicacy when it comes to titling a book, and what I wanted to do was grab the American people by the lapels and say, are you focusing on what's going on here?
So where should I focus on? I'm an American. Where do you want me to focus?
Well, let me explain. When I was a boy, we had the finest minds in the nation. Brzezinski, Kissinger, George F. Kennedy, watching every twist and turn of the Soviet Union. Our leadership was locked in on what the Soviet Union was doing. I want the American people to, among all the other things, insist that their leadership have an intelligent approach to a broad gauge relationship with China. And that means you have to insist we not vote another president in office that we have no idea where they stand on China. That has to stop immediately. And if you're talking to a senator or a congressman who's running...
Where should they stand, though? And if you look at our thesis around here, which is very simple, you got to know where you are, you got to know where you're going, and you got to know how you're going to get there. And what you're saying is America won't admit where it is with China. So you're coming here saying, I'm here to tell you where we are, and I'm here to tell you where we're going, and I'm here to tell you how we're going to get there with China. So where are we? Where should we be going? And how are we going to get there?
Okay, right now we're in a codependency, as you say. It's kind of an export for finance trade-off.
So they give us, we borrow money from them, we buy their stuff, they give jobs to their people, and we give cheap products to our people.
Right, and so for the Walmart shelves or whatever else, we're basically well positioned. That codependency right now works up to a point. But codependencies
or at least has stability of some kind.
Correct. Correct. Better put. But codependencies don't last forever. And if, for example, they develop a middle class and they start turning that export monster to feed some of their local needs and local consumers, they may not need to provide us with so much debt. They don't need the dollars so much. And suddenly we're out of codependency. That's a bad time to negotiate. The time to negotiate with China is now.
When you're locked in this codependent relationship,
absolutely.
We have the leverage right now. They need us. We need them. What is the deal that you would advocate, and what do you believe its benefits are, and what is the greatest barrier to getting it? Who would resist it the most in America and China?
Okay, let me give you an example when it's really working. So GM last year clawed its way back from near death to be the #1 car selling company in the world. And you know what? That was a great day for that company, and everyone who works there should feel terrific. They sold 9 million cars. But the point is, of their cars they sold through joint ventures, 2.5 million cars in China. The way to deal with China is to say, we are going to work out trade negotiations. We're not going to rip a Band-Aid off and revalue the currency 25% in one day. That's bad for you.
It's too violent. It's like curing cancer with a knife.
Absolutely.
You got to be intelligent about this complexity and the solution.
So my view is, let's take a 5-year plan and do 5% a year revaluation. We'll work together to merge into a better kind of balance.
Okay, so I'm going to play China. No way.
No way. Well, here's what we're going to do. We are not, in my opinion, going to get into a trade war.
Okay.
But we are, I think tariffs...
So what are you going to do?
What I'm going to do is...
I'm China. I'm telling you no.
All right. Well, if you say no, we're going to begin to look for other ways to finance our business. We're going to look for other ways to finance our government. We're going to cut back on some things we've been spending, and we're going to have to find customers
I'm going to give you a
elsewhere.
different answer. I'm China. I agree with you, Peter, in your representation of our mutual interests. But if I was to agree to your plan, that would make my unemployment China start to rise, and I can't deal with that. So I would love. You're right. You are getting screwed over. We are making you our bitch. And the only way to repair it is through this progressive reparation. You're all rational. If I agree, China, with you, and I'm China, you create a huge unemployment problem for me that I don't know how to deal with because I'm in this crazy communist dictatorship that's half capitalist, half communist, and I need those people to have jobs.
Well, I understand one of the things you're saying that's so smart is that you can't Photoshop the Communist Party out of this equation. They're sitting behind all of the capitalism, so if you're dealing with anybody in China, you're dealing with the Communist Party.
Do we have enough leverage to deal with that kind of a negotiator?
Gosh, that's a great question. I'm not sure there's a lot we can say we can take away. There's not a lot we can say we won't do. Because
What can we give them if they work with us?
I think what we should say to them is, let's co-develop products. An awful lot of the things that are being manufactured in China are sub-assemblies that are going to return to the United States and get put in cars and trucks and all kinds of consumer durables here. We will work to do technology transfer to bring you up and help you know more sophisticated manufacturing techniques. So we're giving you a little bit of our
And so in
secret sauce.
exchange for the U.S. investment in our development, Marshall Plan-esque, so to speak,
Correct.
we, China, will accept an incremental diminishment of the currency advantage and tax advantage we've enjoyed on a progression that's not so disruptive to our society.
Yes, and what we've just come up with something that won't satisfy the hawks. But you know what? The hawks have a bad idea, because their idea is we'll revalue the currency right away. Their currency will get really strong, we'll get weak, and suddenly all of these...
And the whole thing will flip.
And the trouble is, we haven't manufactured some of the goods that are made in Japan for 15 years. You can't turn that on in a dime. And frankly, who's going to build a factory to make widgets that they've been making in China?
The last question I'll ask you before we go is the little sort of exploration we just role modeled on cable television, the probability that any of that would enter true political dialogue.
Well, here's how it might, okay? One of the things where I think we're going to have the biggest confrontation with China over time is over oil. They're as thirsty for oil as we are. Right now, for example, 20% of Iranian oil goes to China.
Yep.
More than all of the EU countries combined. In fact, 4 countries buy half of their oil. So you're talking about India, China, Japan, and Turkey.
Iran's their oil dealer. So finish that up for me, and then I'll go.
Yes, and so my view is that the way in is to begin to talk about oil sharing deals. They need oil. We have access to oil. Maybe we can develop some more of our own oil, build the right kind of pipelines like Keystone.
So use our energy resources as leverage to incentivize them.
And the willingness to develop them.
Yeah. All right. Listen, very interesting. Congratulations on the book. I look forward to more of this conversation, Peter. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Peter Kiernan, again, a manifesto for the radical center, Becoming China's Bitch, is the book. We have got more with Peter Kiernan up right now at DylanRatigan.com, including an excerpt from this book. I do invite you to spend some time on the web this afternoon to familiarize yourself a little bit further. And coming up here on the show, if you thought $5